Hey everybody, welcome to Whiskey Watch. I'm Joe, and we are going to have a special pour today. Uh, this is something that I just kind of found, never actually heard of it, um, just actually saw a story about it and read up on it. It sounded super interesting, so I figured I'd give it a try, and I absolutely loved it. So this is my second time having a bottle of this. I just took this plastic off of it, gonna open it for the first time. It's called Luca Mariano. Now, something cool about this, if you notice, for any movie fans, it is the font used for the Godfather movies. Um, you know, I guess you can go to Luca Mariano and have a pretty easy guess at the heritage that they're referring to, the Italian. Um, on the bottom, it's one of the coolest bottles too. Not only that, but it's like a crystal bottle. It's very like engraved on the bottom. It says Francesco Viola. Uh, I'm pretty sure that is the distiller's father's name from the story I read. The cool story about this, I'm gonna actually before I open it, if you ever have a bottle that's been on the shelf for a long time, whether it's a brand new bottle you never opened or just a bottle you haven't opened in a long time, which you want to do is kind of moisten the cork, because if you open it and the cork is super dry, it can crumble and kind of get into your bourbon, and that's never good. But when you moisten it, it slides out nice and easy. Go ahead and I'm going to drink this one neat just because I'm a huge fan of it that way. Usually I like a little ice cube in there to kind of chill it for me, especially in the summer months. But this bottle is super cool. It's the guy was making it basically out of his, I don't want to say out of his house, but like a very small operation in Michigan. And it just started to pick up steam. It got super popular, and now it's bottled and distilled in Kentucky. So, um, just a fun story. On the back has even got like a crest engraved. I don't know if it's their family crest or what. I don't know the story behind that, but it's just a really cool bottle, and I had a really cool story. So I figured, why not? I'll give it a shot. It wasn't crazy expensive. I want to say it was in the $60 range. Um, but I was willing to gamble based on the story that I read, and it paid off. Um, Not the easiest bottle to find, not because it's super popular, just because it's a smaller distillery and not a lot of people have it on the shelf. I have not seen it in my home state where I currently live, North Carolina. I generally get it when I'm out of state or have somebody pick it up for me. Um, I've found this one in New York when I was visiting family, um, and I think my brother found one in Ohio for me once, or it might have been when he was traveling. I'm not 100% sure, but let's get this thing started. Cheers. So, outstanding taste. I'm getting a big tingle on the tongue and the lips, which generally will make you think higher proof. It's not crazy high. It's 103. Uh, it is a single barrel. So a lot of times single barrels are foolproof. They're not the same. Foolproof is almost always higher. Single barrels a lot of the times are a little bit higher than small batches. Um, but this is just a really tasty bourbon with a really cool story. If you look it up online, you should be able to find it. It's actually kind of interesting. I just like to read interesting stories. So going to focus more on the whiskey than on the watch, because obviously I mentioned the font. So I don't have the Godfather playing, but that's I don't need to. I've seen that movie so many times. I feel like I can talk about it without it playing in the background. There's just so many cool parts in that movie. I mean, it's obviously an American masterpiece. It's a classic. The original, I want to say, won 3 Oscars, and the sequel, I think, won just as many or more. Um, One of the only movies I've ever even heard of that there's actually an argument, a very popular argument, that the sequel is better than the original. So if you haven't seen the Godfather movies, you're probably very young, or just, I don't know. living under a rock. But the first two are absolutely like must watch cinematic classics. I don't care if you are a fan of mob movies or not. This is not your typical mobster movie. It's, yes, it does revolve around a mafia family. No, it is not just like a shoot 'em up kind of. It's not like Goodfellas. Goodfellas to me, you know, another great movie. One of my favorites, but that's more. There's more. There's more violence and more what the mob was like in the 80s, 90s. I think it was more 80s, maybe late 70s to 80s. Um, Godfather takes place more back in like 40s, 50s. So excellent, excellent cast. Marlon Brando, Al Pacino. You get into, I mean, get into the second one, then you're adding Robert De Niro, but Robert Duvall. There's Jimmy Caan. There's just so many good actors in that movie. I can never remember Fredo's name. He was also in The Deer Hunter, but another, Oscar-winning movie. Wasn't my favorite, but he's another great actor. Just when you're talking about De Niro, Pacino, Brando, it's hard to compare. But if you haven't seen it, you have to see it. It's just one of those movies that, I mean, take the gun, leave the cannoli. It's one of the funnier quotes from that movie that a lot of people seem to know. But there's just so many. I mean, and with any great thing, there's also a lot of questions, like theories and urban legends, like Johnny Fontaine, played by El Martino, um, the singer. There's a theory that that character is based on Frank Sinatra, and there are a lot of similarities of things I've heard about Sinatra and when he was coming up and how he had to get out of a deal or two and may have had some help from some connected people in the mafia, but that's all theory. Nobody, I don't think anybody really knows for sure. But yeah, there's just a lot of cool stories, a lot of amazing acting, and just some great lines. But yeah, the Luca Mariano bottle with that Godfather font always gets me in the mood to talk about the Godfather. So as for the juice, though, I mean, there's nothing out of out of this world about it. It's just really good. For a $60 bottle, it's worth every penny. I've had $80 bottles that I don't like as much. $100 bottles, I mean, a lot of bottles are overpriced, but I've had $100 bottles I don't like as much. Then again, I've probably had $40 and $50 bottles that I put on the same level. That's the weird thing about bourbon. You got to know. Uh, you got to sometimes you spend $75 on something and realize that you don't like it as much as a $40 bottle. Sometimes you spend 50 and realize that it's better than a $100 bottle. It's just, that's bourbon. Salud. Even better the second sip. Sometimes that neck pour can be a little harsh for anybody who isn't familiar. That's the how you refer to the first pour out of a bottle, because this bottle not so much because it's got a short neck, but a standard bottle probably has a longer neck. Like, I'll grab this bottle of Jameson here. So when this is brand new, the the juice generally comes up into the neck, so that's why it's referred to as a neck pour. By the way, also a fun, this is Irish, but Jameson cold brew, pretty good. I'm a fan. It's like it's a cold brew coffee. It's almost got like a coffee-ish kind of finish to it, but you know, it's not like drinking coffee at all. But it's a nice little switch up they did. Jameson does some cool stuff. So in addition to The Godfather, the movie, when I think about The Godfather and Italian heritage in general, I get a little nostalgic. Family. I'm an Italian background. My dad is 100% Italian. My mom is half. So grew up very, very Italian. both of my grandmothers are 100% Italian, so that goes a long way into it. If anybody is or is friends with a very Italian person and has ever gone over for dinner, especially to their grandmother's house, you'll know what I'm talking about. I used to joke that my grandmother would make enough food when we were coming over. She would make enough food so there was enough to feed everybody if everybody who she knows is coming brought two friends. So it was just you walk in and you immediately smell the meatballs frying, and yeah, it's just something special, great memory that I'll always remember. And now my wife, who's not Italian at all, learned how to make meatballs, and when I come home and she's frying meatballs, it immediately makes me think of my grandmother. So just because the smell, So little things, whether it be the font on a bottle makes you think of a movie, and the movie makes you think of family, and then you start thinking about meatballs. Smells reminds you of places. So it's just a lot of cool stuff. I don't know. I'm very nostalgic in that way. One thing leads to another with me. I'm having a pour of bourbon. Next thing you know, I'm thinking about movies, family, meatballs, my grandma's house when I was a kid. It's easy to go down rabbit holes, but sometimes, that's fun. Think about old times back in the day, fun, family. We had a blast one time. So I've talked about baseball a few times. Sports is a big part of my life. My cousin was a very, very talented pitcher. Uh, he was a couple years older than me. So we're playing catch in the backyard at my grandma's house when we're over there for, I don't know if it was a holiday or if it was just a random dinner or if it was just the two. It wasn't just the two of us because I remember for a fact that our parents were there. Uh, I remember my mom and his mom specifically. No, my mom and his dad specifically. But I was probably 11, maybe 12. I think 10 or 11, and he's like 3, 4 years older than me. So we're playing catch in the backyard, and he throws me a curveball. Now at 10, 11 years old, I've never seen a good curveball, and he was a good pitcher. Like he wasn't like didn't go on to play pro or anything, but he dominated some games in little league and high school type sport, that level. And he threw me a curveball, and I put my glove up to catch it, and next thing I know, bam, right in the forehead, knocked me out cold. All I remember was going to catch the ball and then waking up. The reason I remember my mom and his dad, who are brother sister, being there is because I woke up with my mom standing over me, putting ice on my head, and hearing his dad yelling at him about throwing curveballs to his little cousin who's probably never seen a curveball. Like I said, I go down rabbit holes. One thing leads to another, and now I'm thinking about getting knocked out by a curveball when I was probably 10 or 11 years old. Which is kind of funny because I've always had trouble with curveballs. I played uh, I played baseball until I graduated high school. Uh, was always a better hitter than a fielder, but I struggled with those breaking balls, man. I was a lefty bat, and if there was a lefty on the mound, I couldn't. I Seeing lefties where I'm from is pretty rare. It's not a huge baseball hotbed like down here where I live now in North Carolina. There's great baseball everywhere. There's tons of people who are in the pros that are from around where I live. There's lots of great high school teams. Like I'll go watch random high school teams just because I've heard that there's like a top recruit, and there's always 5, 10, 15 top recruits, whether it be pitchers or batters, fielders. Um, every year it seems like that I can go watch anywhere from a 5 to a 15 minute drive. So, but up north where they don't play year round, um, there's not as many, and I didn't see many lefties. And man, I can't tell you how many times I looked absolutely foolish, bailing out, thinking a pitch was about to hit me, and then the ump says strike. But even the righties, if they placed it right, it was hard for me. But all goes back to getting plugged in the temple by my cousin when I was 10 or 11. Hmm. It's better, like every sip. Like the first one, I mentioned that heat, that tingly from it felt like high proof. Not a single time since. It was just that first sip, that initial one. And another trick, I know I told you about moistening the cork. If you ever have something like this, doesn't really fit the bill, but I'll do it anyways. That's a little too hot for you, a little too high proof. Usually you'd use a straw and just stick it into water and kind of put your finger on top just to get a little bit of straw and put a drop or two in. When I don't have a straw, I just literally use the bottle cap, and I don't even put a full cap, especially because I've already been drinking. But just like a little drop or two of water, and you pour that in, and it completely changes the drink. Those little drops I just put in probably took it down from 103 proof into the low 90s, maybe mid 90s. But it takes away a lot of that heat, that spiciness, however you refer to that that feeling you get from a high proof bourbon. So a couple of little minor tricks that a lot of people who drink bourbon on a regular basis know that not everybody knows, especially if you're a novice just getting into it. So see, so now I'm going to have a whole new drink here. It changes the flavor profile a tiny bit, but mostly it just takes that proof down. It takes the edge off. It's similar to an ice. If you think about it, if you put an ice cube in, or multiple ice cubes, depending on your preference, as you drink it, it the drink changes. You know, it goes from you're drinking whiskey that's a little bit cold to you're drinking watered down whiskey to by the end you're drinking whiskey flavored water. You know, depends how talkative you are and how fast you drink. But for the most part, by that last sip, it's mostly melted ice that's a little bit colored by the whiskey. So that little bit of water, though, it's kind of key for people who really like the taste of bourbon, whiskey, rye, whatever it may be, but just don't like that really super high proof. Just a little drop of water will knock it down a little bit, and you still get the majority of the flavor of drinking it neat. You're just kind of reducing the heat a little bit. So I have one of my good friends who lives down here is a big bourbon fan. Loves to drink it, but doesn't really ever want to touch anything over 100 proof. Um, just not a fan of what we refer to as the high octane. But you know, put a little bit of water in that. You know, if I got something that's like 110, he's like, "Ooh, that's a little bit hot for me." You know, so I'll just pour it and add a tiny bit of water. It brings it down to around the 100 that he likes. You know, so just little tricks. You know, just because something is a little bit stronger than you would normally drink doesn't mean that you can't try it if somebody is, you know, opening a bottle. Just add an ice cube and wait for it to melt a little bit, or grab yourself a straw and a glass of water, or if you have a bottle, just fill the cap not full, like not even half full. Just try to put a couple of drops of water in the cap, and it'll take it down and make it a little smoother for you. So a couple weeks ago, by the way, I was going to be a guest on a friend of mine who does TikToks on her channel, and then she was going to join me, and we were going to do an episode together. Unfortunately, I got sick, so that's upcoming. But I also have a couple of friends, both locally and from out of state, who are going to join. We're gonna just try to drink the same bottle. I'll find out what they have at their house for the out of state ones. Some of the in state ones might come to my house, and we'll sit here on the same camera, or they might drink at their house and we'll do a split screen. But I'm going to start having a couple of guests. I think it's going to be fun. One of my ideas is doing a blind tasting. I love doing blinds because I can line up $25 bottle, a $50 bottle, and a $75 bottle, and you'd be surprised how many times the $75 bottle is finishes third. When people don't know the label, the name, or the price, and there's zero bias. I did a blind with my buddy Mark, who is the biggest bourbon guy I know down here in North Carolina. Um, and we did a couple of different blinds. But the most surprising one was we did a blind of 10 years. And he had a Henry McKenna 10 year, 10-ish year, because I didn't have all 10s. Did the Henry McKenna 10, 1792 12 year, and there was one, oh, what was it? Oh, Eagle Rare, an Eagle Rare 10. And the 1792 was actually his favorite. And afterwards, I didn't tell him what the three bottles were going to be at all. Had him drink them all, and it was A, B, and C, and he just ranked them. And the 1792 ended up being his favorite. I want to say McKenna, then Eagle Rare. It might have been Eagle Rare, then McKenna, but the surprise was 1792. So before I told him the results and which one was which, I told him what the three bottles that he drank were. And I asked him, I was like, which one do you think was your favorite, second and third? He's like, I would guess that my favorite was probably McKenna, my second favorite was Eagle Rare, and the 1792 was third. I was like, 1792 was actually your favorite. So, because Eagle Rare is, of course, done by Buffalo Trace, has a really good reputation. The McKenna 10 is another one that originally was a like $35 bottle that now is in the 60 range. And 1792 is generally not too hard to find. The 1792 small batch is super easy to find. The 12 year isn't necessarily easy, but you can get your hands on it in the $50 range, 50 to 60. So just shows you that, like, what we think we know isn't always accurate. So try new things. Bourbon is super cool in that way. You'll find out that you like something you never even thought you liked. So another one of my favorite things that has been mentioned once or twice is youth hockey. If you can see over my shoulder there, the only non-Bills thing is a Carolina Lady Thunderbirds hockey. That's my teenage daughter. She plays for a travel team, and it's so much fun. You would never think that girls youth hockey would be exciting, but man, there are some really, really talented young ladies down here in North Carolina and all over. We travel all over. This year, the team's going to Jacksonville, Charleston, uh, Raleigh, North Carolina, Roanoke, Virginia, and we go to the DC area, Laurel, Maryland, every year too. As you go up north, predictably, the teams are a little stronger just because there's more hockey, more people playing. But these teams in the South are surprisingly good. And it wasn't hard to find when we moved down here. There's teams, an hour, there's teams in Raleigh, Charlotte, Greensboro, Winston-Salem area. Roanoke is close to North Carolina. Charleston, South Carolina. Like I said, Jacksonville, Florida is there. There's Jacksonville, there's Orlando, there's South Florida, which is more toward Miami. There's tons. There's Tampa. There's all kinds of teams, and it's amazing the talent that's down here. But we're getting started. Registration just happened. The first trip is Jacksonville in September. So yeah, it's a good time. I'm in the fundraising stage right now. I do a lot of fundraising for the team. because we travel all over the place. So just trying to help the team with some of the expenses. We provide family meals in the hotels. It's a whole fun thing. We always refer to each other as hockey family. So as you become close, you're traveling around with these people, spending 3 days in a hotel. you know, our kids, you know, if for any reason me or my wife can't make a trip, we have no problem sending our now 14, but last year 13-year-old daughter with another family. Like we're all so close. It's really, really a close knit community. It's really cool. But if you live around youth sports and you're ever looking for something fun to do that won't cost you a dime, see if there's any youth hockey. It's really competitive and really fun to watch. It's surprisingly competitive. These kids put in a lot of work. They practice a couple times a week. They play usually at least 1 or 2 games a week. Last year we had 36 games, so I don't know the exact total for this upcoming year yet, but you know, and the improvement from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. I mean, most of these coaches are a lot of these coaches are volunteered. At least down south, they're volunteering. Um, some are paid. It just depends on the organizations, but it's it's really impressive what they get out of these kids, and they're building friendships. They're learning all these cool things like about life too, like working together. About the work you put in is what you get out. I mean, it's super cool. So if you ever have a chance, I would recommend it. It's free entertainment and it's a whole lot of fun. I have watched a lot of teams that I know nobody on. When we're out of town and I don't have a whole lot else to do, I'll go to the rink and watch random teams. It's really a good time. I am staring at an empty glass. So we all know that what that means. When the whiskey's gone, it's time to move on. So I'll see you again next week. Please spread the word. Uh, Share with any friends who you think might be interested in hanging out. And don't forget to like, subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. And I will see you all again soon. Have a good one. Take care.